Hi, my name is Laura Castillo, Assistant Director for Student Accessibility Services, also known as SAS. I wanted to share who SAS is and identify our mission statement. Student Accessibility Services exists to facilitate students equal access to university programs and services. It also promotes student learning and development and foster independence and self-advocacy, and also to provide leadership to the campus on disability issues. Going back to the first statement, students' equal access to university programs and services is conducted through our access coordinators as they approve accommodations for the academic setting. Promoting student learning and development, fostering independence and self-advocacy is done through our Student Accessibility Mentoring Services, also known as SAMs. And lastly, provide leadership to the campus on disability issues is by promoting awareness through professional development for faculty, staff, and even student organizations. We have 3 SAS podcasts covering different discussions to include feedback on transitioning from high school to college, an introduction of SAS services through the perspective of student workers, and lastly, an overview of assistive technology. We hope these podcasts bring value in understanding SAS services. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Reynaldo Reyes. I'm the Program Specialist for Student Accessibility Services, and I'm here with...
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Morales. I am the SAS Specialist in the Brownsville campus. Thank you for joining our podcast.
If not too many people are familiar with our office, what we do, we provide accommodations, and usually it's academic accommodations for our student population, whether they have a disability, permanent, temporary, broken arm. We also do pregnancy and parenting accommodations. So today's topic is going to be about assistive technology that we use for our population.
Yes, like Ray mentioned, our objective is to ensure that students with disabilities or medical conditions have equal access to the university programs and services. A way that we can do this is by providing accommodations such as AT. So the first accommodation that we're going to go over is textbooks. So course materials, textbooks. What is one of the main accommodations that get approved under that category, Ray?
So the main accommodation, it could be like enlarged font, it could be to Braille, it could be to audio, plain text, because sometimes our students need that e-text so they can manipulate it using some software like Adobe, Zoto, and even using Microsoft Edge, because Microsoft Edge has built a bunch of built-in accessibility features already into it. And we'll be talking a little further about those later on.
Yes, I do agree that we do have quite a few options for our students depending on the documentation that they provide our office. Like Ray mentioned, we do provide course materials, audio, Braille, plain text. Mm-hmm. We do have a process. We actually request our faculty or students to request their course materials at least 2 weeks prior to the start of the semester. And once the request goes through, we have a 4 to 6 week turnaround time in order to ensure that the course material is accessible to the student. That way, whenever the students submit the request, the sooner they do it, the sooner they can get their course materials.
And to add to that, currently the 4 to 6 week turnaround time, with today's technology, a lot of that has actually been cut within a day or two. But we still need the 4 to 6 week allowance, because when we have to reach out to publishers and the content's not readily available from a publisher, it takes us 4 to 6 weeks to get it recreated or get approvals, responses. But lately, at this current time, we actually have been getting them within 2 days, 3 days, a week at the latest. For most material, I just had one file that was not available through the publisher, and I'm having to do a conversion. So that may take me about 2 to 3 weeks just to get it converted for this particular course. So there's options there.
Yeah, so even though it says 4 to 6 weeks, please do not be afraid to do the alternate format request. Like Ray said, the process is much faster nowadays. Another accommodation that is really helpful to our students is alternate format of exams. We do have the same accommodations. We have plain text, audio, braille, readers. And again, depending on how accessible the material is that we're obtaining from faculty, we'll be able to create that and have that ready for the student by the day of the exam. Is there anything else, any other accommodation you would like to mention, Ray?
Yeah, for the exam options, we do have a lot of equipment here in the office, and usually the exams are taken here in our office. So those exams are proctored, and we have equipment that's readily available in our office to do audio conversions, enlargements. So it doesn't take as long as textbooks do. Exams can be within a couple of days. We do ask instructors to provide us a file within 24 hours so we can at least try to do the conversion in time. If not, we'll have to reschedule the exam for the student.
So now talking about access at school, we can go ahead and also talk about access at home. We do have a couple of apps that I would like to go over. So some of the assistive technology apps and softwares that our students have is Blackboard Ally, and that is provided to all of the students at UTRGV. And Blackboard Ally has really increased our accessibility level across the entire university. Do you want to share a little bit more, Ray?
Yeah. So thanks to Colt for that. Blackboard Ally, when they implemented, a lot of people don't know, but when you look at Blackboard and you look at a course, and then at the very end of the title, there's a little A. If you click on that little A, it gives you the options for the accessible formats that are readily available for that content. So by clicking on that little A, you can just go in there and select Braille Ready. You can select an MP3 file. Enlarge fonts, you can select right there and you can manipulate the enlarged fonts. So that Blackboard Ally has become very useful for our student population, so they don't have to rely on our office as much because the content's already ready in Blackboard Ally.
Yes, our university, I'm really happy to say we are moving towards universal design, which not only helps our student population register with student accessibility services, but the entire student population with UTRGV. Another really cool app that was just added is Read Speaker. Read Speaker helps our students who have dyslexia, students who have trouble concentrating, or English may not be their first language. They'll be able to click on a little play button, read the question, read the material, pause it, play it again, slow the speed, change the voice. The options are really endless, and it really does benefit all of our student population because everybody has a different way of learning.
And Read Speaker is available within Lockdown Browser, so it works within Lockdown Browser when you're taking tests. And another option to that would be the use of the immersive reader in Edge. Edge has a built-in immersive reader that reads any content that you open within the Edge or Microsoft Edge browser. And then, of course, you can highlight, right-click your content, and there's a read aloud or read selection option in there. Or you can go up to your browser on the three little dots, upper right-hand corner. You click on that. There's a read out loud, and it'll read the whole page for you. So that's the immersive reader in Edge.
And something really interesting about the immersive reader is that it actually lets you highlight, lets you create your own notes. Really, it's a really good note-taking technology for our students to use and become familiar. It is already accessible. And it's something similar to VoiceOver in Mac. However, it's just within that browser. So instead of having the VoiceOver reading the entire screen as a screen reader, it only really focuses on the browser.
And like you mentioned, VoiceOver in Mac. VoiceOver is very good when you have an Apple product. And also on phones, you have the Siri that talks to you. It reads everything on there. You just have to turn the function on. VoiceOver is the same in a Mac or Apple product. If you have a MacBook Pro or a MacBook, any of those will already have VoiceOver built into it. You just got to turn it on in the accessibility functions. It is a very good product, and it's free. All these items are free to use. They come with the software that you already purchased. You already purchased a Mac Pro, so whatever operating system it has, VoiceOver is part of that, and so is Edge in Windows.
Another good screen reader to mention is Natural Reader. Natural Reader, I believe, has about 80 free voices that students can choose from. And then, of course, if you want to upgrade, obtain a fancy accent, you're able to go ahead and pay for that. However, it's really not needed. With the 80 voices, they're really not robotic. It's as if a natural person was reading it to you, and you're also able to enlarge the text, to highlight whatever you want to be read. If you don't want the entire page to be read, you can focus on just a specific portion of it. And again, you can change the speed, you can change the voice, and you could play it as many times as needed.
Another option that's out there on our system, which every student has access to, Office 365. Again, a free product to everybody. In Office 365, whether you're in Outlook, whether you're in PowerPoint, Excel, Word, whatever app you're in within Office 365, you have a dictation and a read out loud function. Those are accessibility features built in, and they're free to use on any of these apps. Whether you're on a Mac or a Windows computer, if you have Office 365 open, you have a Word document. If you look at the very top, there's a big A, and it says read out loud, and it'll read any content you have there. And on the very top in the toolbar, again, if you look for the dictations, and there's a little microphone. If you click on that, just make sure you do need a microphone for this to work. You can just start speaking, and it'll type everything that you spoke into the computer. Accuracy is actually very high. All you have to do is go in there and, of course, add punctuations and stuff like that, but it's readily available and free. Yeah.
And it comes really in handy when you're writing or when you have to write a big report, and you have limited mobility, or you have a certain disability that would prevent you from being sitting for a long time in your computer. You can just put your computer, lay down, and be able to speak to it, which is really, it's a really accessible software.
And you can write a whole term paper without having to actually write the term paper for any course. You can write a book if you want.
Yes. Yeah. Moving on to note-taking technology, Ray. What is the note-taking technology that you like the best, or that you find our students use the most?
We did a poll, and the one response we got is pen and paper. So students still like to write their own notes down. But with today's technology, and of course COVID, the scenario is going on, the less interaction, the better. So I found that Otter AI is a app that's out there. There's a free version of it for, if I'm correct, 600 minutes, Liz?
Yes,
yeah.
600 minutes.
Yeah, 600 minutes. And we can provide an accommodation if you go over your 600-minute limit. That would come from our office. You do have to be a registered student with our office for you to receive that, of course, with a registered disability. So Otter AI is the first one that I found to be most handy, because you can be capturing the lecture, and you can also be taking images and putting in your own notes into that lecture. It's a very nice, cool app. You can use it on your phone. You can use it on your laptop. It's just readily available, and it's free to try out, at least, just so to see if it works for you. Yeah.
Yes, what I really like about Otter AI is that you're able to record the lecture, and then it gives you a transcript. So you don't really have to type your entire notes. You can choose whatever you find the most important, add the pictures for graphs, images, if you will, and then select what it is that you want to actually review. I believe it also lets you highlight and create your own notes. So that's pretty useful when it comes to taking exams and knowing what to study. And then the plus side is that you're able to listen to the lecture as many times as you need, because it's already in your cloud.
Yeah, you can always go back and make notations and review it over and make more notations. It's an endless product.
Yeah. Another really good note-taking technology that I do have to mention is Soto. Soto comes really in handy because it's an annotator app that it's free, and it's for PDF. So whenever students have PDF files, they're able to open them through Soto, and it can be downloaded in an app to your computer, or you can use the browser as well. Create your annotations, highlight, write with an actual pen if you want, type in anything that needs to be typed in. And it's really useful to create your own notes, or to add notes to something that you have already been given.
Yeah, to add to that, Zoto, once you import your PDF, it keeps a library of the PDFs you have imported into it. And it's just XODO. It's a nice little app. It's readily available in the App Store. You bring in your PDFs. If you're familiar with iBooks, it's kind of the same. Bring your PDF in and you see all your books in there. And no matter where you made a notation, you can click on that book and it goes to that location. So it starts off where you left off, and you can continue making notations on your book and any notes you want to write into it. So it's a great app also, and it's also free.
One other note-taking technology that we're really seeing our students use, it's OneNote. OneNote is part of the Office 365, which is already free for our students. It's already paid for through tuition. So I think not everybody from our student population knows about it, but it's a free app. It's a note-taking app. You're able to create classes, folders, notes.
Okay, so you can bring in Excel files, PowerPoints, you can bring in Word documents straight into it, create a planner straight in within that folder, and it is an endless option there. There's so many little parts to it that it's a little more difficult to use, but once you start using it, it becomes so handy. Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think it also lets you dictate within
yes,
it.
Yes. It's part of the Office 365. Dictation and read out loud functions are already in there. So if you write something down, you don't have to reread it. It'll read it to you.
It'll read it to you, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
The Echo Desktop Live Scribe Pen.
Yeah. So the Echo Desktop is an application that goes in hand with a Live Scribe pen, which we call Smart Pens. Basically, it is a smart pen, like a pen that you use on a daily basis, but it has a recording capability on it. And this smart pen records, once you hit record on the smart paper, because you have to use their paper, and it has functions on the bottom where it has a play button, a pause, a record button. You hit record, you start writing notes, you can do gibberish, and it's recording whatever the environment's saying. The instructor's giving a lecture, it's recording the lecture. And you can always go back to that note you wrote down, or your gibberish that you put down, and you can tap on it, and it repeats what the instructor was saying. So if you use little asterisks, trains, planes, or whatever you want to use to make sure that you memorize what the instructor was saying, you go back, tap on that little plane, and it'll repeat what the instructor was saying. So it's a real nice little app. With the LiveScribe desktop, you can import that recording that you did. So you have an accessible PDF. Well, not totally accessible, but it can be totally accessible. It takes a little bit of manipulation to make it fully accessible. It will bring in whatever you wrote down and the recording to a portable PDF, where it's a PDF file you can transport with you. You don't need the LiveScribe desktop to use it, and the audio is attached to it. It is a little bulky PDF. Usually it's almost 2 to 3 times bulkier than a regular PDF. If you save a 1 megabyte PDF in this format, it'll probably be about 3 or 4 megabytes when you save it, and that's what I mean by bulky. But you're bringing in all your recordings into the LiveScribe's Echo Desktop software. And it's pretty neat because it saves everything every time you use a sheet of paper from this, it keeps track of that sheet of paper, and you can go back to any ones that you did, months, years before, as long as you don't delete them.
Yes, as long as you don't delete it, it almost serves as Otter AI. Back in the day, the most high technology was the Smart Pen, but now we have the luxury of technology coming and being innovated every couple of months, I would say. So now note-taking and Otter AI really go hand in hand.
Yeah, using Otter AI with a smartphone, now you can write on your phone. So you could actually, if you use a writing pencil or something on a tablet or on a phone, you could write your notes right on what you're recording at the same time. So very, very, very handy software.
Yes. And now talking about accessible note-taking, let's talk about accessible textbooks. Textbooks is such a big issue for our student population, and every student, really. Every
Yeah.
student, it's almost required to have a textbook for each of their classes.
Yeah.
What are some of the accessible websites that you have found?
So there are several websites. The best thing is if you're going to purchase a book and you think you need a digital file, just buy the digital file, because nowadays digital files are readily available for just about every textbook that the instructors adopt. Instructors do adopt every 3 to 5 years new textbooks. So it depends where you fall. You may need to buy 2 textbooks, but it depends on if you pass the original course. Well, you don't need to buy the textbook again because you already have it. Yeah.
Right.
On our side, especially when we are getting it here in the department, we mainly use like Access Text Networks, which is a Georgia Tech subsidiary. It's like falls under their umbrella, but it's a repository, and usually it's just educators that get access to these. Bookshare is another one, bookshare.org. Bookshare.org is a little different because there's tons of free books that anybody can access. So, but Bookshare is, once the students register with our office, we provide them access, and we can link any textbook that's in there, or even just daily readers that are in there. Students can open up a free account, and they have access to thousands of free books that are in there. Learning Ally is another one that kind of has the same structure as Bookshare. Learning Ally, if I'm correct, there's a free version that you can download, and there's free textbooks. And Learning Ally has their main production is audiobooks. So Bookshare does both audio and PDF versions, electronic copies of it. Learning Ally is a little more different. It's geared more towards the audio, but there are PDF versions of your textbooks in there, and they're readily available. All these apps have their own built-in readers that you can use. So they have a little app built into their website that you can download. You can use it within the browser window, and there's readers that you can use there that have accessible functions in it, enlargements. They'll read out loud to you. They're basically endless once you start using them and become more familiar with them. Yeah.
Another really good one that is accessible to every student is Vital Source. Vital Source is it's a book company that sells accessible textbooks for the most part. They're electronic, although you can request the physical copy as well. You can choose to rent, you can choose to purchase it.
Yeah.
And the really cool thing about Vital Source is that it gives you the electronic version, and it also allows you to listen to the audio version as well. You get to select where exactly in the chapter you want to have the audio version for. It lets you highlight, create notes, create flashcards, and it also lets you, I believe, quiz yourself. So if you're creating a couple of flashcards preparing for an upcoming test, you'll be able to do so all within that free application. The application is free, but you, of course, have to purchase the textbook.
You got to follow copyrights.
Yes.
Yeah. Another site that's out there that's also free is archive.org. There's a lot of the older books that are in there. If you're doing daily readers or just reading, you can always check out the archive.org. And there's another one, I can't remember the other name right now, but archive.org is the most common one that's out there. And of course, don't forget your library, your local UTRGV library and bookstore. All the titles that the university uses are somewhere within the bookstore or the library. Just got to look for them, and eventually they'll find them. If not, they can find them. Your librarians are great. They will find books for you if you need to. So just let them know that you're looking for a certain book, and they're very assistant. I actually picked up a book this morning, and it was great. Great experience.
Something else that we would like to discuss as well is what accommodation do our students who have dyslexia benefit the most from?
The electronic e-text or the audio file, either for course materials or for exams. Exams for sure, you want to have that audio file in there. What we will do, depending on the in-depth of the dyslexia or the severity of the dyslexia, we will create a fully audio file, or we will allow a PDF with a read out loud software for the student to use. That way they can have their content there. Also for dyslexia, we approve the accommodation for the use of Read Speaker within Blackboard. Currently, Read Speaker is in the process of being shared out to every student, but right now it's being only allocated to specific amount of students due to the licensing, which is a work in progress. And eventually every student will have access to this. And that's the goal for that one. So if you have dyslexia, we will allocate Read Speaker within the student's profile. So when they log into Blackboard, it's already there. And, it's Read Speaker will read everything for them. And of course, there's also use of a browser like Edge, because depending on what the student's reading, and we will do a review with these students just to see what better fits their need. Because every student it's individualized. Two students with dyslexia may not have the same needs, so we try to review with them. That way we understand more what they need to learn, and not having to learn a new process just to learn content.
Yes. So for example, Ray, if I were a student and I got into heaven forbid, a car accident, would I be able to get accommodations, and what type of assistive technology would be able to assist me with that?
Yeah, so heaven forbid, hopefully it never happens, Lizzie, but in case, we are here to help. And depending on the severity and, of course, of the need of the student, say the student breaks their right arm during the car accident, of course, they're going to need a scribe. So we will provide a scribe from our office. We can add a time and a half, because the student's going to need more time to take exams, maybe more time to complete assignments. Maybe the student needs a gap to step away just so they can recoup and come back, depending on the severity again. And all this requires medical documentation from a medical provider. So we can approve these accommodations, because we're here to level the playing field, not alter the course requirements. So we can help you with, of course, I said time and a half. There might be, take an online course, even go as far as take the course online, or find an alternate course that you could take. That way you don't have to be on campus, and you can just be in your hospital room relaxing while you're on class still doing your homework.
Yes, and some of the assistive technology that we mentioned, it really can apply to any type of disability or medical condition. For example, like Ray said, if somebody were to break their arm, and whether it is or isn't their dominant arm, they would still benefit from read aloud materials such as Read Speaker or Immersive Reader, VoiceOver, Natural Reader. They would also benefit from dictation software, which is already included within our Office 365 package deal that every student gets.
Definitely benefit from that Office 365. I recommend every student to make sure they're using their Office 365 to their fullest. There is so many options in there. Even if you want to convert, there's Stream available. There's apps within Office 365 that we use just a little portion of them. I know most students will only open up Word in Office 365, but there's so much more available to them there, and all of it's accessible to every one of them. So no matter if you're taking medication, if you're in a car accident, any disability or a temporary disability, take advantage of your Office 365, and it is free to every student, and you can download it on 2 computers. So if you want to use it on 2 different computers at home, and plus the online app, it's available to you.
I just wanted to say we can't leave without mentioning MS Teams. MS Teams is also a really good note-taking technology. It allows students to create their own classes, transcription. It's really neat, and it's already included, like Ray said. Please go ahead and take advantage of all the Office 365 software that is already offered to you. It's free. You paid for it. You might as well get some use out of it.
Take full benefit from it, yes. It's available to every student again.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Thank you so much for joining our podcast. Ray, do you have any closing remarks?
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, if you need any assistance, always contact our office. Even though you're not registered with the office, contact us. We can help, or at least guide you in the right direction. So just contact our office. Our Edinburgh number is 956-665-7005. Our Brownsville number is 956-882-7374. Or just send us an email, ability, ABILITY, at utrgv.edu. That's the best way to reach us. Just contact our office if you have any questions.
Yes, I agree. Just contact our office. Even if we're not able to help you, we'll be able to guide you. And it never really hurts to ask when in doubt. So we are here to help you guys. Feel free to walk in, give us a call, or send us an email. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.